So basically this mastermind group tonight is all about a different kind of SEO, which I call site resurrection SEO. And just to give you a bit of background on it, this is actually a method that quite a small group of SEO guys around the world have been using probably for the best part of the last year, but it's kind of been in a secret circle, if you like, but it is starting to emerge a little more now that Google is getting a lot more aggressive. And basically, kind of the purpose of this SEO approach is to build links that will easily pass a manual review, and also, you know, out of all the kind of links possible, this is the one that's going to pass any algorithmic penalty, and you'll see why shortly. So it's a pretty, it's kind of a different approach. You may have seen it a little bit, and if you have, you may not have quite seen it done this way, so hopefully it's still going to be valuable for you. So basically this SEO approach is built around, built around resurrecting expired domains and the content of them. And interestingly, the content doesn't necessarily have to be for that particular expired domain. It could be another one, provided that the content is not currently being used. And normally in kind of mainstream expired domain SEO, it's just about working with the expired domain. But here, the crucial extra ingredient, or one of them, is the fact that we're getting the content of those expired domains as well, particularly from relevant sites in your particular niche. And we'll go through kind of a clear example of that tonight. Now, for example, if we go and have a look at a few normal blog network posts, they tend to look like this. What we have here is a typical kind of WordPress blog. I'm running a plugin here called NoDoFollow. It's a free add-on for Firefox, which just highlights links, which can be useful for spotting links on a page. So we can see here, and I'll just increase the size of my screen, we've got this link here for patio builders. You can see it here, and this is a very typical looking blog network kind of site, and I certainly have sites like this as well. They do work, but obviously this is not going to pass any manual review from Google if they have a look at your links. And even if your competitors see it, they could potentially report you to Google as well. So you can see, if we scroll down, we've got that first post is about patio furniture. The next one is about, what have we got, what's the link here, tree removal in Sydney, painting services. Moving down, we've got panel-lit garage doors, and the next one, carpet cleaning as well. I mean, normally they're even more kind of diverse than that. Here's an example of another one of these blog network type sites. As I say, I have sites that look like this. We can see from their recent runs here, we've got mortgage and skip bins, mattresses, waste disposal, and something about used cars probably here. So all these really, obviously not grouped by any kind of niche relevance. And here are a few other examples of these sort of blog network sites. Now what we want to do with our SEO resurrection is instead to come along and have sites that look more like this. Now, these particular examples aren't like amazingly well-designed sites, but what they do look like are legitimate small business or medium business websites, and that's exactly the effect, the kind of illusion, if you like, we're going for here. So here's another one. I'm using car here, car-related sites, assuming we had something like a car wash customer that we wanted to promote. Here's another one here, missing picture for reasons that will become obvious in a minute. This one here, this used car supercenter, and over here we've got this car services all-me. That one's actually on WordPress and I don't recommend that. And here we've got Yuko Cars, this one as well. These are all expired domains where both the domain and the content is readily available. So if I zoom that page in, we can see here there's an external link on the page here So they've justified it with the fact by saying Yuko Corp also exports spare parts. For more information, visit our website, Yuko Parts. But the website here is Yuko Cars, and this could actually have gone to any other site. But what they have done here, and you can imagine this would very easily pass Google Human Review, that the link is justified, and that's a really crucial part of this whole approach. So let me just come back to PowerPoint. Just catch up here. Yeah, so we've had a look at those kind of resurrection sites, site resurrection SEO type sites. Excuse me. So the main reasons that we want to do it, if they're not already obvious, are kind of stealth. These links look as legitimate as any link can possibly look. They're on highly varied site types, and they're all relevant sites. There's no WordPress here. And I kind of recommend, if you're doing this resurrection approach, where you do encounter those ones based on WordPress, probably to avoid them, and just go for more of those legitimate looking HTML type PHP sort of small business websites. We also do it for price. So an expired domain can be, if we're using, for example, the broken link boss method, that could be around $10 for a domain. Or PR2 upwards, you could be talking anywhere from 25 up to obviously hundreds of dollars, but I don't recommend that. If you stick in that sort of PR2 to PR4 range and you use the methods that I've outlined inside the training, then you're talking probably in the $10 to $50 per site range there. It just depends on how you go about acquiring it. The other reason that we want to do it is penalty avoidance, of course. I mean, if links like this can't avoid a penalty, I don't really know what can. You don't have any clear identifiable footprint apart from the specific outgoing link, and they should pass a human review if reported by a competitor, for example. And I'm going to get to some ways in a minute of how you can justify the link being on the page with some kind of clear examples of it. Also, if you're into tiered link building, these kind of sites can work very well as sort of a buffer tier, first tier ring around your money site, and you can do kind of, if you like, spammier sort of link building to that first tier, but obviously not to your money site. Now let me just do a very quick check and see if I have any questions here. Okay, all so far so good. So making sense so far? If not, please say so, and I'll straighten anything out. All good? Okay, no questions so far. So there's obviously a process, like any of these things, there's a process on how we go about it. The first one is to actually find domains. Now, I know because more people are using that technique inside SEO Traffic Hacks that it's getting harder to use that Register Compass, GoDaddy, Buy Now, Closeout method. But there are still domains there, and I think even we went in there today and bought a couple of domains, so they definitely are there. And typically on those lower price ones, you're looking at about $25 for PR2 to PR4, $25 for those expired domains. But what you might want to do now as an extra step in that process is just check whether the content is actually available. And I'm going to come to that step in a moment, but it's something to think about when you're doing your due diligence on a domain. Unless you're kind of prepared to just get content from a different expired domain, check with Copyscape and make sure it isn't currently being used elsewhere, and then use it on the site. But obviously you'll need to change some logos and things, so there's a bit more work involved. You can use the broken link boss method from SEO Traffic Hacks. Now, just to very quickly recap on that, if you, let's say, for example, you're in the car niche, something to do with cars, and you scan some big authority sites. It could be things like Motor Trend or Car and Driver or car association types of sites. When you find those domains that have expired and you can buy them again for like $10 or thereabouts, they will be de-indexed, and that's okay. I mean, not all types of de-indexing are bad. It's just that they haven't been used for quite a while and Google has removed them from the index, which is kind of understandable. So when you buy them and you put a bit of content on there, you will find they get re-indexed very quickly, but page rank for that page won't come back for possibly a week. So I do see, usually, when we have a domain de-indexed, we have a very particular procedure that we go through to get them re-indexed. And typically they get re-indexed quite quickly within a few days, and then about a week later the page rank will pop back. So there is a lag. It's like those are two completely separate parts of Google between page rank and whether a domain, a site is in the index or not. Now, just very quickly on a side note, the best method we've found for getting de-indexed sites re-indexed is to empty all of the content off the site, make sure the site has then been added to Google Webmaster Tools, and we send in a reconsideration request claiming that the site has been hacked, that some links were put on it that we didn't authorize, but we've regained control of the site and cleared the content off it. And I don't think we've had a case yet where that hasn't been able to get a site re-indexed. Now, the only drawback to that approach is that if you're dealing with a lot of domains and you've got quite a few de-indexed, it could look suspicious if you're trying to put 50 of them through Google Webmaster Tools and say that they all got hacked and you've cleared the content and all the links have gone. And it is getting more difficult to get multiple Gmail accounts, so keep that in mind as just one of the kind of roadblocks or obstacles on getting sites re-indexed. But that's a method we've found works extremely well. This hasn't opened just yet, but it's about to. This is with a partner of mine on this project, Expired Domains for SEO.com, and there'll be links everywhere inside the training for this program, and I'll send out emails as well on it just to members. Basically, my partner in this, Thomas, he and his team go and find expired domains that have a certain level of PR and a certain level of domain authority and page authority according to Open Site Explorer. And he offers them at really low prices, and because he does that, he doesn't do the due diligence that we normally would go through at our end. But you'll see when you kind of get the first list of domains, you'll kind of see how kind of crazy low the prices are, and to have to do due diligence on them is not too difficult, and it really depends how high a quality you want that site in terms of what you're actually using it for. So Thomas will be sending kind of everything that he has, and you can sort of look through and check possible domains if you like based on the name or the PR or all those other factors like DA and PA. So that will be coming out very soon. You've also got the usual channels like Digital Point, although I haven't personally needed to buy on Digital Point for a while. And if you are buying on Digital Point, that's definitely a site where your due diligence process is absolutely essential, and there are a ton of fakers on there. Guys especially doing fake forward 301 redirects to try to get fake PR on a domain, and Open Site Explorer is very good for that, spotting that. Actually the best of all those kind of reverse engineering tools. And if you read that thread inside the training, the SEO training, about how to check the quality of an age domain, it does detail exactly what you need to do there to make sure you don't get stuck with a fake domain. It's quite common on Digital Point. You'll see things like PR8s for $300 and kind of crazy stuff like that, and they've got no backlinks and very suspicious. And when you do start doing any due diligence on those, it's very obvious that it's completely fake and worthless. Another option is somewhere like yourmaindomain.com, but you tend to find the prices are pretty steep there. So, going back to the Register Compass Buy Now method, if you don't have the patience for auctions, which I don't, or you might be able to, build a relationship with a private domain dealer. That's an option I haven't written here. But now you've got these other possibilities as well. Expired domains for SEO.com and Digital Point, possibly yourmaindomain.com as well. Let me just quickly check if I've got any questions. Jeff has asked some questions, but luckily I've answered them all. Good stuff. Okay. So let me just go back here. Just to emphasize this point, because this approach, this whole resurrection SEO, is actually something that can make you a lot of money, and I'm going to talk about monetization in a minute. So it's really important to understand the process. And remember, my London SEO agency has been using this exact method, but in a kind of larger scale way for, a lot of 2013 very successfully. It's one that can work really well for you, but it's important to understand the little steps in it. If you find, for example, you find a really good expired domain, doesn't matter what the niche is, if you can find content in that same niche on another site, expired site, that isn't being used, you can use that on the domain that you like, but just remember, you've just got to change the logos and things. It's really about just recreating the recreating the illusion of authenticity, just like a bunch of real car websites might link to a car wash in their city. It's exactly that kind of illusion. In the same way as SEO and link building in general creates the illusion of viral popularity, and that's why sites that we do it to usually rank really well, because Google's assuming they're very popular and therefore should rank higher. So that's the finding domain step. Let's move on. Now we need to find the content for these sites. So how do we do that? So the primary way that I do it, that we do it in the London SEO agency, is we go and check target domains in archive.org's Wayback Machine. And here you are going to find duds where there are no records. I mean, the internet is absolutely vast. It's huge, and it's probably beyond the reach of almost any tool to have a complete record of pictures and text for every site that's ever existed on the web. So you do need patience and perseverance, and it's a task that can definitely be taught or outsourced as well. So it doesn't have to be you doing it. But that is the mechanism that we use for it. Once that good content has been found, we download the whole site with a free downloader such as A1 Website Download, and that's a free tool on download.com. And I noticed there are a bunch of others there, and I'm going to give you another option as well in a minute. But let me just jump over to, actually no, hold on a sec. Yep. I should have just shown you that archive.org if you're not familiar with it. So for example, on this site here, this yucocars.com, when we come to archive.org and I just paste it into the machine here, browse the history, you'll see where these black lines are on the Wayback Machine. This is where they actually have some record of the site. So if, for example, I go back to 2008, I'm going to see some blue dots on the page. You can see one here for February the 10th. May 14th is another one, and that's all it has from that year. It says it's got one snapshot. So if I click on that, you can see I have content there, I've got pictures, I've got links, and so on. So what I could do is paste this whole domain up the top here. I would come along and I could just paste that into this A1 website download and come along and start the scan. I've actually already done this site. Click on Start the Scan, it would download it. And on download.com you have other options like this one as well, like this WinWSD website downloader. There are a bunch of them around. You may well find an easier one, but those are just a couple that I've found that can certainly do the job. Now, once you actually have the file, if you're doing it yourself with this method, what you'll probably need to do is use an HTML editor, and we use Microsoft Expression Web here, but it really doesn't matter. It could be anyone to edit the page. And what you'll need to do is remove any Wayback Machine script on the page. So if I come back to this page here, and for example, this is the site here, we've got Haringey Cars. You can see up in the top, this is from webarchive.org. And if I reload this page, you can see we've got this script up the top here because it's still content from thearchive.org, so that needs to be removed, and you just do that with the HTML editor. And you'll just want to check the links work, and sometimes the pictures don't quite work, so we saw that before here. We've got a dodgy picture here that won't load. You just got to do a few little fix-ups here and there. You might just see a picture missing. Do we have another example? No. Okay. For example, you might have a broken image link here, or just something that needs a little bit of fixing up and checking of links. Just come back up. So you can use an HTML editor. Now, another option that you have is a service called waybackdownloader.com. Let me just go to that page. This is what it looks like here. Quite a basic page. And what you do is you just get that URL. If you can see up the top of my screen, you just need the URL like this one here, where it's got the archive.org address and the expired domain content that's kind of listed at the top of the domain. And I would just copy that. So here I would just paste it in there, make the payment. So that you can see over on the right here in terms of the payment for this, number of sites, 1, $15. If you do 5 or more, they're $7.50 each. So you pay via PayPal, and in theory within the hour they'll send you back the complete website all ready to go with the links working. You can even have a WordPress version of that site if you want, but I don't recommend that. I recommend that it looks like a real HTML kind of almost old school site. You've got that option there. If you're working with a lot of sites, you may not care at all about $7.50 for that convenience, and you can process them quickly and get them up and running, and that's a really good service, obviously, that you can use just to speed it up if you don't want to muck around with HTML editing and fixing links and all of that. Let me just check if we have any questions here. Okay, all good so far? Okay. So we're down here, Wayback Downloader. Obviously then you need to set up hosting, and obviously you want different little hosting accounts for these different sites, and upload your site with your link or links in it. So the page will look completely natural. It's just going to have an extra link or a few links in it. Let me just come back to one of those car sites. The Yuko Cars is a great example here. We saw, actually it was this page, just here, like this kind of completely legitimate looking link, and it just doesn't look, it seems quite natural, and there's a real reason, there's a legitimate reason for that link to exist on that page, unlike these guys where it's obviously kind of what Google would regard as spam central and pure manipulation. But here, much harder, and I very much doubt if a Google manual reviewer would regard that as kind of a spam link, because it's just well justified with the text around it and the link going out to an external site. So moving on, we've found the domain, we've found the content, and once you've actually got it set up again, the site, you would run it through the IMTalk Mass Submitter, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that one on the highest setting, currently set at 2500. I've noticed recently there's a malware problem on about the 1800th site, so obviously you just can't get past that one, but that's still a lot of links, and that should get Google back and recognizing the fact that that site has been resurrected. So the next step, so we've found the domain, we've got our content through archive.org, whether we downloaded it ourselves through a software tool or we use that service, that Wayback Downloader. The next thing we do when we're working on that page is we need to justify the link. So here, if you need help with this, just email me, of course, at private@terrykyle.net, and I'm happy to come up with some extra ones here. But I think you'll see how these links can be justified. So for example, we can't just obviously do the blog network trick of just jamming the link in there. Often the sentences make no sense and it's fun content and so on. But here, really for these sites to work at their best and safest for your client or for your sites in the long run, the link has really got to have a reason, a justification for being there on the page, and if possible also have an image link. I've found it's quite beneficial to have a text link and an image link going to the same page, and there is a bit of decay in the power from the first to the second link, but it's still definitely worth doing, and it's going to give a bit of extra juice there as well, so don't necessarily just limit it to the one text link. So for example, this is the kind of text you might see on the page and a way that a link can be justified. So on a site we see news, colon there, we recently acquired domain.com. Where you see the blue in the underline, that's where the link would go, and I've just obviously put in a domain.com link here. We recently acquired domain.com, will soon be offering that service to our valued customers. Provided this is in a relevant niche to this site, I can't see how that wouldn't pass a manual review, and we've never really had any problems with it, through the London SEO agency. These kind of justifications just work because they just don't appear spammy and they look convincing. Here's another one. In brackets here in a sentence, also please help support our hardworking friends at http domain.com as they're going through tough times at the moment. Another one, congratulations to our customers at business name, actually a customer at business name, so whatever it is, such and such car wash, for winning the 2013 Best Small Business Award. So in your thinking here, your link justification, you've got to think about why would this one business site be linking to another. So if, for example, in this case, the car wash is a customer of the car yard, on their website they could very likely want to congratulate them and even link to them with something like that, a message about some award that they'd won. Google is not going to be checking whether that business actually did win any award. Here's another one. So please support our partners at business name in their application for Rotary Association accreditation. So you could, an image link to go with this one could be something like picture of some people or like a shop or something like that. And of course that link could also go to that other site. Here's another one. We have just been awarded Best Service Provider in California by such and such. So again, creating that clear connection between the two sites. Here's another one. Get 50% off your next, whatever it is, car wash at http whatever it is.com when you mention us. Very typical kind of offer that small businesses would run. Here's another one. You might have enter here for a chance to win a free, whatever it is, car valued at $25,000 on domain.com. Again, it seems more legitimate. And here's another one. Actually, I saw this on a Toyota in Sydney website, had something to this effect. Congratulations to Domain.com for joining our approved supplier network. A small business might use a range of different suppliers, and they could have different kind of levels of approval or consideration or whatever. And when they've been added, it's quite feasible and believable that a link might appear on that page. And one more here, more of a family one. Family is important to us here. You can even have the business name at such and such. So please help support my daughter's new business venture at blah, blah, blah. Include the pic of a woman and a link image. So the dad running one business is linking to his daughter at another one. Again, that kind of clear relationship is there. Let me just quickly check. Any questions? So Chev has asked, would you recommend doing a text link, then an image link, or an image link, then a text link on a page for the maximum benefit? My personal preference, Chev, is for the text link, especially if you're using like a keyword anchor for that one before the image one. That would be my preference on doing it. I do think while I don't necessarily buy into the fact that outgoing PR is divided by the number of links on a page, I do think the higher they are up the page, the better. How do you use the strategy? Jeff has asked, how do you use this strategy when you need to link out to a good number of websites, not just one? I'll come to that in a little bit, Jeff, but what I would do is if you know, for example, you've got to link out to something like 10 different sites, when I'm looking for content, I would look for a text-heavier page that had different textual areas of it. So the ones that we've looked at here, and I'll just come back to those very quickly. Let me just move my GoToWebinar control panels out of the way that you can't see. We can see here this is not a text-heavy area. So if, for example, I've got to put 10 links on this page, that could be a struggle. And what I might even do is go in and manually add a few paragraphs that seem reasonable and create kind of different areas. So you might have something like new approved suppliers in January, or Q1 2014 could be one area with some bullet points and some links in there. Either A, try to find site content that already has more areas and more textual content you can work with, or actually add it into the page, but try to do it in a way that looks kind of quite realistic. I find if you go and have a look at sites like big car dealerships, any kind of big business presence, it could be like hardware suppliers and things like that. They quite often have a busy page with a lot of different textual areas, and you can get ideas for how you can more easily integrate it in. It could be another option that I didn't think of when I was writing it is that you could be the organizer of an upcoming seminar for your industry, and you've got speakers from these different companies coming, and so, for example, under the heading of something like, see you at the Californian Used Car Summit in April 2014. Our main speakers are John Smith from Domain.com, link, Mary Jones from Domain.com, link, something like that. Reasonably believable. It's an event, different speakers coming from these different businesses, and there could be links for that. Let me just come back to questions. Okay, so we're all good now. Let me just go back to PowerPoint. Just bear with me for a moment. So, while this is obviously a great SEO strategy to use and is going to potentially give you a lot more penalty protection, and it's going to actually make clients who are getting a lot fussier now, clients tend not to want to see spammy blog network type links and can kind of hit the roof if they've been built sort of without their knowledge. And you can see that Obviously, if we're getting links on these kind of sites, or possibly even higher quality ones than these examples here, then they're going to like them a lot more. But there are still a few caveats. I mean, no SEO strategy is completely perfect. So you just need to be aware of these going in. The first is that this is quite a time-consuming strategy, especially on when you're checking potential domains in for content in archive.org. You're going to have hit quite a few blanks before you hit the good ones. And one thing I should have mentioned there, when you can't find content, we come back here. Let me just check it again and get back to a calendar if I can. So if you can't find, for example, content up here, if you can just see the top of the screen where we've got this June 8th, just go back to an early years and just have a look at the different blue dots on different dates. I might need to come back to the main screen for that. I don't have it at the moment. Let me just grab that. Yep, so you can see here, for example, if I went to January 8th, 2014, as it turns out here, and there was nothing, I would just look to go back to earlier years and just run through and just check all the blue dots here, just check that February 10th one, because sometimes you find it might be parked on certain dates, or it says coming soon or whatever, so you just need to go back through it. So it can be a bit time consuming just finding the content there. Now, something we've found with the London SEO operation is sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes the content's original owner can get a little upset with email and email you about it and complain that that content is being used without their consent. It is rare, but it can happen. So if that is the case, just change the content. So just grab content from a similar expired site that isn't being used, just check it in Copyscape, just grab a couple of lines, a paragraph from it, stick it into Copyscape. We have a big Copyscape account. If you want something checked, we can just send it over to us. We can do it. Just make sure you're just not using content that's being used somewhere else. But we found the best approach, and what pacifies the original owner of that content is just to change the content. You can just say it was an honest mistake and just change the content quickly, and we've never had a problem after that. Cost could be an issue depending on how many that you want to get, but that's kind of no different from any like blog network SEO or any expired domain SEO. The domains are going to cost, but if you go with that broken link boss method, the domains are going to be about $10 plus the time that you invest. The only downside there is that, let's say, for example, on my White House backlink example, the whitehouse.gov backlink, but that's a PR5 page, and I can't see what the page that I'm on, the domain that I'm buying is going to be, because the site's been de-indexed. So I'm not going to get a good PR reading until the content is put back on, it's re-indexed, and probably even to the next PR update. Even though there are a lot of little kind of micro fluctuations in PR all the time, it probably is going to take until that next PR update to actually see the toolbar PR. Doesn't mean that Google themselves won't have their own internal PR measure for that page, because their PR updates every day, supposedly. So even if it isn't showing toolbar PR, it probably still will have good PR if you've got that nice PR link from the authority site. The thing is, at $10, it's about kind of half the price of what you might get through a GoDaddy buy now domain. So, and obviously you can just target relevant ones as well. The other point just to make about resurrection sites, they can obviously be your switch boxes if you're using kind of a tiered link building approach, or you want to build that circle, that buffer circle around your site. So crucial to that obviously is keeping really good SEO diaries for each of your tier 1 sites, your switch boxes, if you're using that approach. And if, for example, you try out one new SEO service that's running through one of your resurrection sites that you're running as a switch box, and it has a pretty nasty effect, you've got the opportunity just to switch that one off, remove the link. so it's not doing any damage. Jeff has just added another website copier is httrack.com. I assume that's a free one, Jeff. Thank you. Will these links, Chev has asked, will these links have less value as they are not surrounded by relevant in-context links? Well, they've got relevant content around them because they should all definitely be on a niche relevant page, so they should have some textual content on that page. So if we went back to, let's go back to our car site example here. So, for example, Chev, we can see here in this text that we've got, the link is here, we've got export spare parts mentioned here, second-hand cars, heavy equipment. You could obviously bulk this up with a few more words, you could use a few more adjectives, just provided it looks completely natural. What else have we got here? More about language here. But we do have images of cars. I haven't checked the file names of those particular images. Hopefully they're going to be good. Here on the left we've got vehicle gallery. So there are relevant terms on the page, and remember, because you now own this content or you have control of the content, you can choose kind of where to put that link and what specific text is around it. So you do have the option to bulk it up a little if that's a concern, but we haven't found that to be the case. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff has said that httrack.com is a free one. It's probably available on download.com, or you can just Google that one. And when I update this methodology in the training, I'll make sure I mention that as well, Jeff. Thanks for that. So now we get on to arguably the most important area of this whole SEO resurrection approach, which is monetization. How can you actually make the most money for it? Obviously, you can backlink your own sites and be building up that. You could use it as a tier one. You can use it as just a kind of horizontal tier where you don't do any link backlinking to these buffer sites, which they wouldn't be buffers. You could just keep adding to them. So that's obviously one way to monetize it and giving you that much less likelihood of a penalty. What I think is an equally good way to go is to create industry-specific site groups, and don't call them networks, because that increasingly has a kind of negative footprint association, and rent links out to industry-specific SEO agencies. So, for example, can you imagine if you had 50 or 100 of these sites that were all law practice sites, and then you could rent out packages of links to law SEO agencies? Or the same could be applied to dental, medical, accounting. Lots of different niche groups would be there, and just obviously, if you're using it for this purpose, you want to get pretty professional looking sites, because remember, they might need to show these to their clients. They probably will, and the clients obviously don't want to see anything that looks spammy or like blog network links that we looked at before. So my best advice here is, because over the years I've kind of worked a lot in selling link rental packages. It's actually, and I've done both of these, so I kind of have a good idea of what works best, is to sell groups of links and not individual site links. Now, if you have something like a PR7 site, I don't think you're going to have higher than that, probably not. But if you had something like a PR7 site, you could probably get away with individual site link rentals, but the much better option from a marketing and easy sale point of view is packages. So you might, for example, be approaching law SEO companies with 30, 50, or 100 site packages. They'll, of course, want to go and have a look at the sites themselves, have a look at the backlink profiles for them, do their own kind of site value checks on them. That's all completely normal and fine. But just ballpark here, I've just put a few figures together. So for example, you might have a 50-site law link package where your sites range from PR2 possibly up to PR4 or 5. So your 50-site law link package could rent out for $250 to $500 a month. Depending on the sites that you've chosen, and this comes back to Jeff's point where you might want to have more links on the page. Let's say you had up to 5 users. You're probably talking in the vicinity of $1,250 to $2,500 monthly. And the cost of putting together something like a 50-site group, depending on if you're using Broken Link Boss or buying expired domains through Register Compass, the closeout method. So your cost of setting up and hosting that domain, I'm not including time here involved as well, but could be in the vicinity of $600. I've got $2 signs there. It's the power of proofreading. Could be your actual cost to set up that 50-site network. Could be, let's say, even if it's at $1,000, potentially even at the end of month 1, you could be already in profit. So anything after that, provided your sites remain indexed and keep their PR and nothing kind of happens to them, basically then that's more or less passive, and that income will keep coming in. And obviously once you've gotten over that first expenditure, it's kind of very, very profitable. I think, in the past, when I've been working a lot in link package rentals, which I don't do as much these days because my business has a different focus, but in the past, when I'd set up things like this, monthly income was kind of in the $60,000 a month range. So it's definitely very lucrative, but I have found that when you try to do it just on individual sites, it's a lot more fiddly, it's a much harder sell, and the customers generally just aren't that interested in it. It's much better to go for those packages of sites. One that I didn't mention there that actually can also go after would be gambling. I mean, the gambling industry just has a crazy, crazy amount of money just to rent links, and you can obviously set up links for the casino, the online gambling industry, which I have done as well in the past. I don't do it that much anymore just because I'm, to be honest, a bit bored with those guys and want to go in different directions, but definitely a very lucrative market to go after. And you actually see these guys kind of looking, swooping through forums all the time, looking for more sites. They all want more links, but they are getting fussier, so they're kind of insisting on higher site quality. So just keep that in mind when you're kind of evaluating site content that you can put on these expired domains. But you can imagine if you've got, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of these networks going on the side of like 50 sites each, which is a bit of work, a bit of hassle involved from a hosting point of view, hosting management and stuff. But that's a very good, it's not that difficult to get to a $10,000 a month kind of, sort of, as I say, semi-passive business model just through renting out those packages of links. Everybody who's competitive wants more links, so that appetite for links, it's never going away, even if they demand more quality now. Okay, let me just have a quick check on some questions. Okay. Okay, all good. No questions. That's amazing. So that is SEO Resurrection SEO. And remember here, just to quickly recap, the key is in the content. It's actually not so much in the expired domain, and that's the crucial difference there. The key is just finding that good content, because as we all know, creating content is a nightmare. Creating good content is such a hassle. But here, if you can get content that's no longer used, and we add that to the other element of domains that are no longer used, you can see that we've got something really powerful there, and that it works. I mean, I know from my London SEO company, it works very well from, firstly, an SEO point of view, which is obviously crucial, It works very well from a client satisfaction point of view, and it works very well from a not getting penalized point of view. So personally, I think this is probably one of the main, if not the main future direction of SEO, especially with expired domains. And I think the days of like automated tools and tons of Web 2.0 stuff pointed at money sites at the very least is, you know, pretty much behind us now. We need to move to more of this kind of model, you know, just going to work a lot better. So that's that approach, gentlemen. So if you have questions, okay, no questions. Awesome. If we want to move on to any other topics at all, guys, I just want to check that you received an email, sorry, not an email, but I sent through Skype, and Jeff, I need to probably send it to you via email as well. I sent a zip file from some threads that I printed as PDFs from an affiliate marketing forum that we monitor. Excuse me. And the reason that we do that is kind of we're always looking for converting templates, and in those PDFs there you've got a couple of very interesting case studies there that you can go through and possibly copy as well. Steve has written, seems like it's back to being far more manual again. Unfortunately, Steve, it is, unless you can outsource or train a staff person just to do those steps. But I think you could see there that it wasn't technically difficult. It's more just the kind of time involved, and you know, just sifting through, finding the content for specific niches. I think if you're doing package link rental, you know, in specific industries, at the front end it's a lot of work, but once it's actually set up and run, it's, you know, there's not that much to do. Okay, so any other questions, guys, on your business, SEO, anything else? Tony has said he missed the mastermind. Will there be a replay? Absolutely. I'll send that out, a link on email and through Skype tonight, probably tomorrow morning. Chev has asked, should we be using Whois? I would still use privacy protection on it. The cheaper option is, well, if you use name.com or even trafficplanethosting.com, our domain registration service, Whois, is always free, not just in the first year, but after that. So I'd be using that. So if you're not on those services, like you're on GoDaddy or Namecheap, where it's only the first year that's free, you might want to move over to those. I've always found the indexing is lower on when you've got Whois privacy protection. If you don't want to change from GoDaddy or a different domain registrar, you can always just put fake details in there as well. But I think the better option is to have the Whois privacy protection. Okay, what I might do, gentlemen, is schedule another Skype call. I had originally planned to discuss a few online business models that we've come across here that I wanted to talk about and share. So what I might do is schedule another meeting next week to go over those. I decided, you know, I've done more research on this, and it seemed a lot more doable than the way we do it in London, which is kind of a lot more intense and over the top. But I wanted to cover this way and kind of show you the way to get going there. So I still want to do that monetization one, so I'll look to run a webinar on that one very, very soon to meet up. Chev has asked, how is the ticket site going? I've moved over to the new site. We're in the middle of doing SEO work on that right now. So by the way, I'm not sure if you saw, but it wound up being in December that site earned $3,700. So you know, I think I sent through the all of the individual sales, and then you could see exactly where the winners were. So definitely that ticket niche is one to go after as well. Definitely can work. I'll keep you posted on the ticket site progress as well. Okay, Jeff has said another business opportunity session would be great. Yep, we're always on the lookout, Jeff, for converting templates that are already working, and definitely looking to share those so you can build those up as side businesses or main businesses. And it's amazing how often they come up in just sort of semi-obscure niches with very simple websites that do extremely well. So, gentlemen, it looks like we're out of questions, so I'll wrap it up. We're a little bit early tonight, but we're going to pick up on another business opportunities webinar very soon. So if you have follow-up questions, after you watch the recording of this, if you're not sure about certain points that I brought up, please just send an email through private@terrykyle.net, and I will get back to those. So have a good day there, gentlemen, and I look forward to talking to you soon.